Go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's exclusive Lunch and Learn hosted by Single Point Consulting. We're so glad you're here. My name is Nicole. I will be helping host this call. Today's topic is building a resilient workforce in high turnover environments. In contact centers, turnover isn't just a staffing issue, it's a business critical risk. With annual attrition reaching 30 to 50%, organizations are losing institutional knowledge, customer trust, and millions in recruiting and training each year. Today's session is solving that strategy, not just managing the symptoms. In our session, led by Skip Picciano, founder and CEO of Single Point Consulting, with over 20 years of experience guiding digital transformations and customer experience, Skip helps organize and turn complex operational challenges into clear, measurable results. He is joined by Kate Brouse, I hope I said that correctly, CX advisor and BPO matchmaker at Outsource Consultants. Kate brings a deep expertise of SaaS and BPO partnerships, helping leaders create and self-funded pathways to a digital transformation. Today, you will walk away with real drivers behind chronic turnover, incentive strategies that actually motivate performance, workforce models that improve attrition and retention, and a practical framework. So go ahead and please drop any questions in the chat throughout. We'll allow 10 minutes at the end for a Q&A session. So without further ado, Skip and Kate, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. And Kate, thank you for joining us while traveling in the cold and frigid air in Toronto. Appreciate the time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Skip. There's little that I like to talk about more than retention. So this is a treat for me today, actually.
All right, we're going to put Kate on the hot seat for this lunch and learn. So I'm going to drill you with questions, and it's just a pleasure to have you because I know you're going to have some of the best answers when it comes to attrition and combating turnover within the contact center environment. So my first question, Nicole mentioned it in the introductions. There's a fair amount of contact center turnover, rates hitting 50% plus. Some contact centers you and I have seen, it's upwards of 100% annually. What strategies have you seen work best in these high pressure environments? Drawing from your experience, recently judging the Stevie Awards.
Yes, I did get to recently judge the Stevie Awards. I've done it for 3 years now, and it really gives a very interesting lens into the overall experience for customers, but especially in regards to the contact center. And what we are seeing is that it's really about engagement and career pathing. And you'll hear me say that probably multiple times. Retention is such an interesting beast because every organization has its own culture. But if you can take that culture and you can make your agents feel engaged, make them feel like they really are making a difference in the lives of customers, if you can understand the differences in generational aspects, whether we're talking about boomers that may be working part-time in different organizations, or some of them even still full-time after they've retired and come back into the workforce. Soon we are actually going to be, Gen Alpha is probably going to be in the contact centers within the next 7 to 10 years, maybe even sooner for some of them. And they have very different things that they like and want to have as part of their experience. But what really makes the difference, Skip, here is that if you're looking across generations, if you stop and realize that we all want the same thing, we just have to figure out which individual person within a generation wants what. And that starts with really engaging your team, having very deliberate conversations, asking them, is this something that is a stepping stone for you for something else? Is this opportunity something that you want to grow within this organization? And making that clear. So I've just covered a whole bunch of interesting things. We can talk more later. There is so much that I loved. You can probably tell I'm passionate about a lot of this. And so I would just encourage anyone who is watching or sees this recording, if you have questions about this, there's lots of people who are great experts at this, but this is something that I do love to speak to and about because it's about belonging and engaging employees where they are. And that right there is my passion. I am all about inclusion.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love that answer of engagement, culture. We have that practice here. You do it within your practice as well, and your role there with outsourced consultants. And then you also brought up generations, right? And so we actually have people that focus just on Gen Z, and we're going to have an upcoming lunch and learn to discuss just that. So I love that answer. On that topic of engagement, there are different tools, and you just did some work as an advisor to the University of South Florida within their CX program. What role did you see gamification playing in keeping agents engaged? And can you share an example of gamification that actually delivers results without, feeling gimmicky?
Sure. So the gamification can be as simple as tracking something on a whiteboard or an app on your screen and having a pizza party for the winning team, but it's become increasingly difficult as you have remote teams. And so the answer is going to be a little bit different for every company and every vertical on what is important to them. But really, what it boils down to is gamification works when the employees understand why you're doing it. It's not just a game. So if you just figure out, okay, we are going to recognize a team who has the lowest average handle time, people are really great at gaming the system, right? So you may set up a game hoping that it is going to lead to the best outcomes, and people are going to figure out how to get their customers off the phone faster if you're tracking average handle time and trying to save the money that way. So I think the answer really isn't what gamification works, but why are you wanting to gamify? What is your desired outcome? And then build a system and a game around that that will engage, again, knowing each individual person on your team and overall in the corporation, the company, what types of things will or won't engage them. So that's, your broad answer. You asked me for something specific. And so I have seen some really great gamification that I think is provides better results than most of the game systems out there. There are vendors that offer this type of gamification. If anyone wants to talk more about that, I'd be happy to. But the reality is it doesn't have to be through a vendor. But what works is when you get the top levels of the company involved on the same teams as the agents. And that is what I have seen drive better performance and better outcomes than anything else. And so if you're saying to your C-suite, hey, we're going to put you on a team with frontline agents, and we're going to track certain KPIs, and you are helpful for responsible to be on that team. And so what you do is you have your CRO is on one team, your CEO is on another team, your COO is on another team. So now you get the C-suite competing with each other. You get those bottom line agents all understanding that the C-suite is paying attention to them. That increases engagement and performance phenomenally, like nothing else. So that's one answer of a specific thing that I've seen work really, really well.
Good answer. Good answer. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of gamification, some that use technology. And some people that may be watching this recording right now know that I came from a call center environment as an agent, and we had gamification that was just sticky notes. And under each sticky note was a prize, right? Some type of reward system. The one we liked the most was money and trips. But yeah, you're right in your answer in that it has to work and it can't be too gimmicky. So I appreciate that. Now, the other thing you mentioned early on is with generations um, working within a call center, a customer care environment, we have brick and mortar, we have remote workers now more than ever. And the other thing you mentioned was retired folks who really appreciate flexible work models. What flexible work models and hybrid or remote setups have you implemented or recommended through outsourced consultants to boost employee satisfaction?
Like that question because it is exactly what we do recommend. So we work with BPOs and brands around the globe, and some of them suffer with attrition more than others. But usually, the first thing that our success team is saying to our BPOs that are struggling to have the retention that they need is simply you need to be more flexible. The world has changed, and especially post-COVID being flexible is something that generations that are coming in now just automatically expect. And it's something that older generations find very necessary, especially as if you're a senior who's working part-time, or if you are in that middle generation where you are maybe caring for an aging parent and your child at home or even your pet at home. Everyone needs that flexibility and being able to just say, okay, yes, we're going to implement some sort of shift swap within your team, or we're going to say, let's go ahead and offer micro shifts. Some people prefer to work, in 2-hour shifts, and you can sign up for that. Some people prefer to be in house in their brick and mortar office all the time. Some people prefer to be at home all the time. Some people like a hybrid. If your company can offer as many of those options as possible, then it helps. And a lot of times we're hearing, oh, well, we want everybody back in center. And the question really becomes why and what's driving that? And do you have data to back up that your in-center work is better than your at-home work? Because overall, statistically, the statistics and studies show that there really isn't a loss of efficiency at home. So if you are saying all of our agents have to be in-center because that's where we are seeing the most efficiency, then there's something else in your system that is broken. So discovering what that is and fixing it so that you can offer that flexibility becomes really important. So those flexible models of work and just being understanding of a work-life balance, understanding that your agents probably aren't going to stay with you forever. I mean, the average tenure for a call center agent, if we are not talking about like terrible attrition, but about 2 years, that's not very long. And
Right.
so you need to understand probably that your employees aren't going to stay around much longer than that and provide them the opportunity and the flexibility to stay longer, provided that it works for them. When you can be more flexible, they're going to say, I don't want to jump ship for a different job because look at the flexibility I have after 2 years of working here. They don't care if I go to Ibiza, Spain and work because I've proven that I can be effective, that I'm reliable, and that I can get my work done. So I'm going to go on vacation for two weeks and I'm going to work for 1 week of that so that I can afford it. And my company is going to allow me to do that because we have the transparency and the freedom to do that. For those companies that allow those kind of outside the box thinking, it really increases retention.
Absolutely. And again, relating to my own example as an agent, we weren't allowed to go to lunch. When the fire alarm went off, I was the only one that left the building. They kept
Oh, wow,
everybody
Skip.
in their seats. And so there was no flexibility. You had to sit in your seat. They would come get me out of the bathroom. It was crazy. And so
Oh, wow.
so we had 24 people going to training. 1 year later, there was four of us left. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of that has to do with the inflexible approach. This is way back in the day prior to the fire and wheel and days of rotary phones. So totally different environment now. I think the workforce um, has adjusted, and I think the operational partnerships are accepting that adjustment. I mean, they kind of have to.
Mhm.
So transitioning to that, looking ahead, what one key operational partnership or maybe efficiency tweak would you advise? You talked a little bit about it in that last segment, but what efficiency tweak or operational advice would you give to combat high turnover and create a truly resilient team?
I think creating that truly resilient team is about creating a team, right? You can't have a resilient team if you don't have a team to start with. Employee engagement is not very high right now in a lot of areas of the world. A lot of employees feel very disconnected, and it's really this interesting conundrum. We have all this amazing technology that allows us to stay connected to the world from everywhere, technology that is supposed to be time saving and help us have more free time to do what we want. And yet, most of us feel more stressed than ever before. Most of us feel burnout, and most of us are just ready for some sort of a break. And I think organizations who are really ready to address that and say, hey, we understand. We are implementing new tools. There is fear about AI. Is AI going to take your job? We understand maybe we've already implemented AI, and so some of those tier one or lower level calls are gone. Now the calls that you're getting, they're more complex. The customers are more emotional. You're getting yelled at more. I think being very transparent and just letting your employees know this is what we see. We recognize, we know, and letting them know what you can do about it, what you can't change, what you are planning to change. Just making a team, and making an organization part of elevating that team and being very clear. Sometimes the employees might say, hey, I want a career path and I'd like to get promoted in 2 months. And you have to say, you know what? We really appreciate the fact that you are committed, that you want to build a career here, and then help reset it. Especially some of these younger generations, they want to come in and they just want to have that promotion like right away. And if you help them understand, look, this is what I can do for you. This is what I can't do for you. I can't promise that you're going to get promoted in 6 months. I can promise that we are going to invest in your training. We're going to develop your leadership skills, and we are going to promote you when the time is right. Hang in with us and then check back in with them versus some employees who might just say, all I want to do is just answer the phones because I'm retired. I'm, in my 60s, 70s, and I just want to have 4 hours a day. And so really understanding what your team wants and working within it. But again, it starts with that cohesive team. So team building activities and building a culture, whether it's completely remote, hybrid, or in office, combination of all of those. It takes work to build that culture. That's another thing that I love to talk about, but it's that team. And there is no I in team, right? We all have to work together to be that winning team.
Exactly. And then you stated again that culture aspect, that engagement aspect. Again, you do that. We got Shanda on the phone. She does that for us and works with contact centers, specifically just focused on culture. I focus on the technology side. Shannon doesn't care about the ones and zeros behind it. She cares about the people. And it's huge to have that type of engagement and see what's going on. Find those challenges, find those opportunities for improvement to set that future state that you want when it comes to team. And you also have a big fan, it seems like, on this call. Andrea, can I pick on you a little bit?
Sure. What's up?
Love the comments, love the reactions you've been given. Andrea's been listening intently, Kate, and she made a comment in the chat about she works with Zoomers. I always just call them Gen Z. I'm calling them Zoomers from now on, Andrea.
Love that.
Expecting shift swaps, flexibility, and she also mentions that tech leaders forget that we're dealing with humans, not numbers, which you spoke about as well. Andrea, did you want to add anything to that?
Um, no, but I think that it's like it's important to to have um leaders that understand and you were talking, Kate, about how we can have the C-suite and the leaders like in our games and and involved in our contact centers. And that really made me like jazzed about it. Um, I know that sometimes people forget this like the aspect of the job, so they're expecting, you know, with AI we are easily getting harder calls. We're getting calls that are more complicated. We're getting situations that need more hand holding or white glove service. And just I don't know, it's interesting and nice that people are reminded of the purpose and they're reminded of culture. And
That's a
I'm jazzed about this.
that's a great comment. And thank you for letting me put you in the hot seat there.
Yeah, anytime.
Great comment because you're absolutely right. Artificial intelligence is taking care of all those easy stuff, right? And allowing us to reduce uh, call waiting times, reduce handling times, but it's creating more complex calls. So the agents have to be more of an expert when it comes to those things, which is kind of what we want. But yeah, it brings new challenges as well. And by the way, we forgot to mention this. Comments and chats and questions are rewarded at the Single Point Lunch and Learns. So anyone else that wants to add questions, we always give out fabulous prizes just to stimulate the engagement. So please ask some more. We got 9 minutes left for Q&A. We always start on time and end on time. But Andrea, thank you so much for that contribution.
I do
And
have a question though.
yeah,
For reluctant leaders, like what advice do you have to get them more engaged or to remind them about agents or members of the team who will make mistakes, they will be humans, they will need coaching and things like that. What thoughts do you have about either um, managing up or kind of doing those kinds of things?
gosh, we
And
got a
even
number of
just
people
getting
like that.
buy-in, I was going to ask a very similar
Yes.
question, Andrea, because so oftentimes the right thing is kind of obvious. The difficult thing is getting leadership buy-in.
That is a really good question. It starts with building your influence with those leaders. And so you can't just say today, okay, we want to have somebody at the C-suite be involved with somebody on the contact center floor as an agent and play on the same team. You have to cultivate those relationships over periods of weeks and months before you get to that point. So that's a really good question, but something that does lead to good success. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really fun to when you can get the entire C-suite or just other, director level management. You can say, okay, we're going to help all of the different directors. And then sometimes you might have one C-suite leader that is more amenable to understanding what you're doing than another. So when you can get buy-in from another leader and then you can pit them against each other, that's when it really becomes interesting because one director is not going to feel great about, okay, let me work with, a team of agents. But if you get one director pitting against another director with their agents, that can be really interesting. And then once those things are working well, I have seen teams where you might have a director working on a team for some sort of a gamification or engagement, working with agents that aren't on their direct team, but might be scheduled working on the same schedule. And there's so many different permutations, and those kind of gamification and engagement solutions really help with the team building because it breaks down the silos that so often exist cross-organizational, and it makes it so that everybody is playing for that same team and people are getting to understand what it's like to be on the phones and what it's like to be at the management level. You're fostering those conversations. You can have, team huddles for 10 minutes, the beginning of the week. Hey, team, these are the KPIs that we are really going to be working on this week. And then encouraging the upper level management to kind of go back and forth and like, well, how's your team doing? Well, we are have at this level and we're at this level, and just continuing that friendly fire engagement to keep those going on. Hopefully that answer helps answer that question. I'm always happy to take more questions offline as well.
Yeah, oh, the good answer. There's no easy answer though, so I appreciate that, Kate. And those challenges are real, Andrea, right? You have reluctant leadership. One of the things that Shanda does is she actually has a leadership training program. How long is that? That's like 6 weeks, Shanda?
Well, there's different programs. One is up to a year long,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight. When you have that reluctancy, when you have that pushback, especially when it comes from leadership, a lot of times we see pushback in the ranks, right? When it comes to maybe adjusting culture or creating a culture and an environment that contributes to removing attrition or improving retention. And so there's a lot of challenges along the way, but the one you bring up, Andrea, when it comes to leadership, yeah, that's a big one.
Skip, hi, this is
And
Bob.
sometimes you can't always fix it.
Skip, hi, this is Bob. Hi, talking. How are you? Not to take time away from Kate's time, but I'm curious. You mentioned you work for an organization that they wouldn't even let you go to the bathroom, basically.
Yeah.
And you were one of four people that stuck it out for more than a year. Why did you stick it out that long? And what was the motivational factors that got you to finally get out of that grind?
Oh, that is a great question. Um, I don't know. Maybe I just love abuse. Actually, I was very fortunate in that we sat in these pods, and across from me was a gal who'd been there since she was 18 as a phone operator. I worked for the phone company, and she was instrumental in helping me learn the systems and actually become it was a sales environment. I was the number one sales leader for the entire time I was there. So money was part of the reason, and another one. I was never a guy to back off from a challenge in challenging environments. Kind of like little Scrappy Doo. You can't put me down, and I'm going to sell so much that I'm going to be missed when I'm gone. And so it was back in the day when before cell phones. This is how old I am. Sorry, we called them PCS phones, and they were those kind of bricks. My real name's Peter. They called me PCS Pete. I sold so many. I sold more than Teams. And so they did miss me when I was gone. And so that was my reward. Kind of a weird answer to your question, Bob, but that's what motivated me
So
was to
what
me.
advice,
And
I'm curious, what advice would you give to someone who feels like they're in that kind of compression where upper management doesn't appreciate the talent that they bring to the organization, or that they don't give themselves that the structure isn't set up to allow for that kind of dynamic to happen?
yeah, it depends on the environment, right? If it's really toxic, yeah, get out. Um, but what I did, I tried to turn it into a positive and I took it on as a challenge. And so it just depends on how you as an individual want to react to that. Um, my way was one way, but it's not everyone's way. And if it's a thing where you go to bed on Sunday and don't want to wake up on Monday to go to work, yeah, there's lots of call centers that'll take you, and there's some with good environments and some with great ones. I hope that answers your question, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for asking. Awesome. Well, we got 2 minutes left. Anyone else want to get in with a chat? A comment does not have to be a question. We can just give accolades to Kate and Shanda and Andrea for all their comments, and of course Bob for his contributions as well.
Skip, I would like to wrap up with just one extra thing. We talked briefly about how, as the contact center jobs are becoming more stressful, as those the deflected calls away that are easy ones are being handled by AI, as the jobs become more stressful, it's really important to recognize that, and for contact center leaders to allow their teams to step back and say, I'm not ready for that next call. So especially as even wrap-up time is going away, as AI is doing those automatic summaries. So it used to be you might have a stressful call. You could de-stress from that by just kind of typing in your notes, right? That was a way of decompressing a little bit. And now a lot of times that's gone. So recognizing the importance of allowing a team member who's just gotten off a stressful call to take that moment to step away and get a drink, to just not be ready for 30 seconds, to speak with a supervisor about what's just happened, and using all of those interactions and stressful moments also to coach to how to handle that when it comes along again. So that's really important in building those resilient teams, is helping prepare them for the increased mental stress and empathy that is going to happen as AI takes more of those easier roles.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. And again, you're traveling. You had some technical challenges, and she was still able to join folks and share that knowledge and expertise with us. Big round of applause for Kate. Thank you so much. I have in the chat my email. If you got any other further questions, please reach out. If you'd like your own personal lunch and learn, either hosted virtually or on site with myself, Kate, Shanda, reach out. Nicole, also in the chat, put a link to our next event. We'll also be sending that out. Again, appreciate everybody's time for this lunch and learn, and hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.